welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel. It's September. How is it September? It is September 2nd, 2025. I want to welcome you to this place. This is episode 321. If you are just joining us and you're giving the show a first try and you haven't joined us here before, welcome, welcome. I hope that you find something here that you find valuable and that you enjoy and that you find a home here. We're always growing. We're becoming quite a big community, and it's just really good to see everybody and to welcome you here. If you're a patron of the community and you're a member of the community, then of course you get to be a part of the live chat every week, whether it's the live stream or for those in the Wool Circle, then part of the Wool Circle. And as always, it's such a lovely opportunity to gather and to connect as people who share a passion and a love for hand spinning and hand spun yarn. Rebecca says, okay, so you're going to show us your cute hoodie, right? I found this on the street. It was hanging, Mike actually saw it. It's from Jasper, Jasper National Park. It's one of our national parks here in Canada. I'm coming to you from just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, here in the southwestern part of Canada. And we were walking down the street, and Mike, there was a sale rack in front of one of the stores, and Mike was like, oh, I love that color. And it was actually a different sweatshirt. And it was buy one, get one free. So you get two. And so it's like $20. I love it. So anyways, the weather has changed here. We've gone from 30, 35, 36 degrees down to today is a high of like 20 or 21 or something. The weather's really changed. So kind of t-shirt, sweatshirt weather, long sleeve shirt weather. We've definitely had a change in weather. For those who have kids heading back to school today, yesterday was the Labor Day Monday, the first Monday of September. And of course, for much of Canada, not all of Canada, but much of Canada, a lot of people consider yesterday New Year's Eve and today New Year's Day. And the reason for that is because today and if they had gone back a little bit earlier, depending on the part of Canada, like Rebecca's kids in Nunavut go back to school a little bit 1 week earlier, but most of Canada heads back to school today, the day after Labor Day. And it's always the first Tuesday of September. So for those who have kids heading back to school today, I had to head back to school. So big, massive changes for our family over the last couple of weeks. As those of you who know and who follow, who have been following me for a while and have watched the podcast for a while, you will know that for the last 4 years, we have been a homeschooling family. The kids went to it was in the public school system, but it was a program that was sort of a hybridized version of homeschooling and classroom learning. They would go to school 2 days a week, and the rest of the week they were home and doing their schoolwork at home. So they got their lessons at school, and then they had their the rest of the week was at home doing their actual schoolwork. So lots of independent work, lots of project work. And we did that for the last 4 years. For those of you who follow the podcast for a long time, I'm not going to go into all the whys and hows. If you've been watching the back catalog, you'll come across those episodes at some point. And the end of an era this morning. So Nora came to us 2 weeks ago today actually, and she said, I've changed my mind about French immersion, and I actually do want to go to French immersion. And we were like, kiddo, you turned your spot down back in April. Like, that ship has sailed. Sorry, buddy. And I talked to a friend of mine, and she said, you know, it's worth it to go into the school and just ask if they have a spot, because they might. And we went in on Monday a week ago yesterday. I inquired. We were expecting the answer to be no. 2 kids had moved away over the summer, and Nora got one of the spots. So Nora went to school this morning and is starting in 5-day-a-week brick and mortar traditional school. So James had his first day today. He's coming home on the bus in a couple of hours. I'm hoping that he had a good day. He forgot his phone. So I'm hoping that he's doing okay. And this is what they look like when they were heading off to school this morning. James is in his uniform for his new school, and Nora was dressed in her very favorite jersey from Manchester City, which for those who don't know is a team in the Premier League in England, and on the back is her favorite player and number, and she felt that would bring her good luck for her first day. So she's already home. She just had this morning. And a couple of people have said to me, it's funny, Dion says footloose and fancy free. It's funny because I think we just naturally as a family kind of ebbed, like we just kind of naturally came to the end of our homeschooling journey. There were other opportunities that presented themselves and the kids took them. And so we kind of just naturally came to the end of it. And I'm sad about that, but I'm also like, we were ready, to be sort of moving on to the next chapter. And a lot of people have said to me, like, what are you going to do with all your spare time? But it's funny, it's going to get filled. Like, you guys all know who had kids in school or have kids in school, you know that the days go like that, right? So, and our evenings are still going to be busy. And, so I'm just going to take a couple of weeks to just ease in, and lots of kindness. So I know Christine, she said, how did they get so big? I know. So for context, for those who don't know, I first turned on the camera when Nora was about 3 months old. So many of you have watched the kids grow up. And of course, James is 13 now and Nora's 11. So lots and lots of changes. I know, Nicole, it's funny. I count my blessings every day because I hear from my niece and nephew all the time about school and that they don't like it and so on and so forth. And you're absolutely right. My kids love school. They love going to school. It's been a really positive experience for my kids thus far. And yeah, obviously we've had the odd year here and there that's been really challenging. We've had teachers that are challenging. That's life. You're not going to love everybody, but just in general, we've had a really positive experience, and I hope that continues. So fingers crossed. All right, we have an extremely big show today. As you can see from this photo down here, my Longway Homestead breed study, the monthly 12-month, breed of the month, etc., etc. I finished it, and the yarns are actually back here sitting on my chair because I haven't quite put them away yet. And I know, Dion, exactly. She says, what spare time? Exactly, 100%. I said to a really dear friend of mine last night, I was like, I think I'm going to just sit there in the office. I'm just going to stare at the wall. I'm just going to stare. I was like, I'm going to find a spot on the wall and I'm just going to sit there and stare at it. I feel like the last 4 years have been such a blur. And I actually feel like I need a bit of a chance to recover a little bit. So, and with them being home all summer and having a long summer vacation this summer, I definitely need some downtime. So my mom said very, very kindly last week after we told her that Nora had gotten a spot in French immersion for grade 6, my mom said to me, I think that's going to be really good for you. And there's multiple meanings and multiple levels to that statement from her after the year that I've had, and I got quite teary, and I said, I think you're right. So yeah, big changes. Yes. All right, there is a lot of people in chat today. I want to welcome you all and thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk lots about the Longway Homestead breed study because I am finished that. I actually pre-recorded that segment so that we'll play that when we get there. The reason for that is just because actually I wasn't sure what today was going to look like and we didn't have times yet for Nora for school. So I pre-recorded it just in case, and so we'll sit together and watch that. As many of you know, we just got back from Jasper. We had a week in Jasper a year ago. This time last summer, actually it wasn't this time, it was a little bit earlier, so about 13 months ago, Jasper National Park and Jasper Town Center experienced a devastating wildfire that blitzed through much of the park and part of the town. And we wanted to go back just to support the town, bring some tourism dollars in. Jasper's one of our absolute most favorite places on the planet, even though we've traveled extensively. And we wanted to go back and just support them. We knew the campground would be devastated and all that kind of stuff, but we wanted to go and we had a really good time. So without further ado, I have a little vlog prepared for you guys. And there was another question from Nicole. She said, sorry, one more school question. Does French immersion mean she'll be doing other subjects in French? Yeah, great question, Nicole. For those of you who are not Canadian and maybe don't know or maybe have different immersion programs in different parts of the world. In Canada, for French immersion, it can start either in kindergarten or grade 6. It's different in Quebec because, of course, Quebec, the first language is French. But for the most part in the rest of the country, you can start either in kindergarten or grade 6. Sometimes you can start in grade 8, which I was going to do, and then there wasn't enough people signed up, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that when I was in high school. But when they start in grade 6 like this, they basically have to spend grade 6 and 7 catching up to the kids that are in kindergarten French immersion, who've been in French immersion the entire time, because starting in grade 8, they're all together. So it's a very intense 2 years. There's a lot of homework. A lot of kids obviously really struggle with it and end up dropping out. Nora is more than capable of doing it. My mom is bilingual. My brother is bilingual. My nephew is in French immersion. There's lots and lots of French in our family, so she'll have lots of support. But they do math, science, social studies, French is all in French. And then they have English as a subject. And generally, depending on how the school is structured, their physical education, PE, gym, is in French as well. And they sort of try to immerse the kids in the language. And they're actually generally, they spoke English today, although they greeted them in French, generally starting at the beginning of the second week. This is what they did with all of my friends and my brother and anybody that I know that went through French immersion from grade 6. They, from the first full week, so that would be on Monday, so a week yesterday, so coming up on Monday, there's no English in the classroom whatsoever, other than when they're studying English, and of course recess and lunch, the kids are allowed to speak English. So yeah, they really try to immerse them, and they try to really get them up to speed and really expose them to French culture, and particularly Quebec French culture and Acadian French culture, which is Atlantic Canada. So they really try to expose them to Canadian French, basically francophone authors, Radio Canada, which is CBC, but the French radio and French Canadian broadcasting, so all of that kind of stuff. They try to really expose them to French culture. I had 3 friends that went through French immersion from grade 6, same as my brother, and they all spent semesters in Quebec for university and were able to do exchange programs once they got to university to really try to solidify their French. Because the big issue, and I'm sure any of you who speak multiple languages understand, the biggest issue is trying to converse and trying to keep up, because we all speak our native languages. Like myself, we speak very quickly. So yeah, it's very cool. I'll keep you guys posted. Nicole says, that's cool. I went to primary and secondary schools with bilingual programs. So as well as advanced French, I did history, geography, and science in French for a few years. Very cool, Nicole. Very cool. Maths in French sounds like my husband's nightmare. So funny you would say that, Amanda. That was actually our reason for possibly not putting her in French, was having to do math in French. But I think she's so far ahead in math right now because of this program that she was in previously, that I think it'll actually be really good for her to have the exposure to the language. So yeah. Christine says, wow, that's amazing. Post A levels, so that's when you hit 18 in England, in Britain, I did a 2-year bilingual secretarial course at l'Institut François in London. Some of our classes were in French only, and it was a bit much. Wow, that's cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to my accent is terrible, but I understand and can read a lot of French because I did French all the way to grade 12. So I'm really hoping that this reinvigorates some of my French. And I've actually been thinking really seriously about jumping on something like Rosetta Stone, just to get the cobwebs off and help me so that I can help her a little bit, because I can read it and understand it. I can't speak it. My accent is terrible, but I can, maybe dust the cobwebs off a little bit and be able to help her a little bit. All right, Jasper. Here's a little vlog that I made of our trip to Jasper. And like I said, there is a lot of fire damage, so watch for that.
Look at the view.
I brought a string. I could attach it to your board. Everybody, let me off. Report.
Whoa, my game. No, buddy.
Did you fall?
The mountains are so pretty. Do you want to paddle now?
Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to do something like that and to share a little snapshot of the behind the scenes with our family. As you can see on the paddle boards, our family is actually really silly, and we can get very carried away with being very silly. So it's kind of fun to show that side of us to you guys, because my mom always says she never laughs as hard as she does when she's with the four of us, and it's because like we're really actually quite silly. It's not really so much me, it's Mike and the kids. But we, everybody has a really good sense of humor. We're all like very humorous, and so we do a lot of laughing. So it's fun to kind of share that side of everything with you guys. For the show today, without further ado, because we're already like halfway in and we haven't even talked about yarn, I've got a couple of housekeeping things to share with you after the credits, just to kind of bring you up to speed with a couple things. Wool and Spinning Radio is released, all that kind of stuff. And I've got some finished yarn to share with you, and then of course the Longway Homestead. So if we don't get to absolutely everything today, obviously we'll just finish it off next show, and I'm always happy to come back and chat about more stuff, talk about something again if you have questions about it. So if we get into kind of a really big discussion about one of the things that could lead to a fairly big discussion, we'll just come back to it next show. No harm, no foul. So without further ado, let's run the credits, and I will see you guys on the other side. All right, so first things first, Wool and Spinning Radio is released for the month. Of course, it's September, so we have a new episode. This one was quite silly. It was the art yarns versus textured yarns debate. Bethy40 on the Slack channel put almost an essay in response to our episode this morning. I haven't read all of it, but thank you so much, Becca. She always has such thoughtful things to say, and she totally got that we were like trying to sow dissent between Rebecca was like trying to get us to fight. It was really quite funny and quite lovely. So that is published now. That's the audio podcast that's part of Wool and Spinning. And you can find that on Spotify and Audible and all the places that you catch your audio podcast. Just search for Wool and Spinning Radio and it will come up. And it was just a really fun episode with Rebecca and Dion to record and to do. And I appreciate Rebecca for her trying to sow dissent between us. There's the link in the live chat for Wool and Spinning Radio for this month, and you can access that anywhere. For our book study, the syllabus for part 4 for all of the textured yarns is out now, and you can access that in the down bar. We will be focusing on textured yarns, and we're going to be looking at like boucle and super coils and core spinning and all that stuff. It's all on the Wool Circle. So without further ado, let's do the housekeeping post, and that way you'll be up to date with everything for September, and you'll know what's going on. And then if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to throw them in the comments of the podcast here on YouTube. You can throw them on Patreon, or you can just pop them in the live chat and I'll be able to address them right away. So I will again see you on the other side. There are some changes coming to the Wool and Spinning community in September. We are super excited to start sharing them with you. Please ask lots of questions for clarity and let me know how I can help you navigate it all. Ketchup and Pickles goes out on the 1st of the month each month. They contain all the links and announcements that you need to navigate content and events. Be sure to grab this post when you see it in your email inbox. We're at a really exciting time with the Wool Circle because our Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs is starting the final part of our 2-year study. We will be looking at novelty and art yarns from now until Christmas. Please join Rebecca on the Wool Circle. Look for the free trial. The teaching content that is published each month by myself, Rachel, will be replaced by something new come September. I am so pleased to announce that Dion Carter will be joining our team to explore all things related to color. Her content will be available at all levels of Patreon support from the Spinning Circle and up. All tiers that you see active on Patreon at this time include her new show, Color Mania. Rebecca and I are so excited to welcome Dion to the team, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Spinning Staples and Queries are dedicated Zoom groups with Rebecca and myself, Rachel, to answer questions, navigate the book study, and discuss in-depth hand spinning concepts. Access a dedicated community of spinners who are exploring their craft and inspiring one another face-to-face over Zoom. Our community groups meet informally throughout the week. Look for the Zoom link in Slack at the time of the meeting. These calls are an opportunity to ask questions, learn about Slack and Patreon, and get help navigating content. The post with meeting link goes live the night before on Patreon. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. Spindle spun season is still going, and it's still a thing, and it's still doing its like people are still posting in like hashtag spindles on Slack, and you guys have been posting in Ravelry. Thank you for continuing to participate. I had like a whole thing that I was going to do this summer on my spindles, and I didn't even start it. So I just totally didn't even, wasn't even able to do that. I know I totally pulled a Rebecca. That's okay. She pulls a Rachel all the time because like, the whole like ripping out a sweater kind of thing. And that's actually one of the reasons why I don't like muting my cameras when I like when I play the like the pre-recorded stuff or like inserts or whatnot. And I know it's the same for Rebecca. It's one of those things. It's like, but if we don't, then you get the echo. It's so hard to know what to do, right? You just have to get into the habit. So thank you guys. Yeah, so Spindle Spun season is still going. It's still a thing. And thank you to those who have participated fully and have been really enjoying it this year. I think for me, it just honestly, the year just kind of got away, like the summer just got away from me. It feels like it's been such a blur. My in-laws flew home this morning. They've been here for the last 10 days from rural Ontario. And so like we've had, house guests, and like it's just been like, it's kind of just been a blur. It's been one thing after another. It's crazy. All right. So let's see. I think we should talk about finished yarns first. Or do you guys want to talk about sampling first? Do you want to do finished yarns or do you want to do sampling? What do you want to do? Tell me. I'm happy to do either. Yeah. Let me just see here. Finished yarns. Okay. Eliane is on it. She's like, finished yarns. Rebecca too. Finished yarns. Okay, let's do it. Let's start with my Longway Homestead because I think it's a big segment. It's a lot of yarn, and it would be nice just to sort of talk about that and finish that. It was such a big project. It was multi-year, and obviously I really enjoyed doing it, but it's been a long haul. It's been a lot. So let's do that first, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it in the chat. If you guys have any questions about all the changes coming this September with Color Mania, Color Maniacs, spinning pearls and breaking a braid, all of that kind of stuff, you can throw it in the chat while we're watching. And I hope you guys have something really wonderful that you're working on while you're watching. Please share in the chat because I want to know what you guys are doing. And I will see you on the other side. I'm going to mute again, and I will put a little post-it note up to remind myself to unmute. And I'll see you guys on the other side. Okay, so let's talk about my Longway Homestead breed study. So the yarns are back here behind me. There are 12 of them. It is a 12-month study. You get your 12 and then it's done. And this is from Longway Homestead outside of Winnipeg, Manitoba, here in Canada. So I actually wrote a article years ago for Ply magazine about the importance of breed studies, and I kind of got to wax poetic about all things breed studies and why I think they're really important, which is really cool. And thank you to JC for giving me that opportunity years ago. One of the reasons, there are quite a few reasons why I think breed studies are really important, and I think we should talk about it quickly. I will put up a little photo here so you can see what the actual yarns look like, and you can have a look at them while I'm chit-chatting with you. And so I'll do that now. So here are the 12 yarns. There are 5 on the bottom and then 7 across the top, I think. And I think some are buried underneath, so you can't really see some of them. But there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh no, there's 6 and 6. So there you go. My bangs are also getting too long, so I have to like fix those. Anyways, breed study. Why are they important? Okay, so I'm going to go through a few different reasons and a few different points, and I've got them all written out here so that I stay on task and I don't get too off the cuff. It's one of the reasons why I pre-recorded this, because we go in all sorts of little side quests on the podcast and it ends up being way too long. And because this is my kid's first day back to school, which I've already talked about, I just wanted to try to keep the show sort of relatively contained today so that I can be available to go and get Nora. So first of all, hands-on learning. Handling and spinning different breeds, when it comes to like all the different sheep breeds out there, a breed study is not exhaustive. You're not going to be able to spin everything. You're not going to be able to spin every single breed. You're also not going to be able to spin all of the nuances that occur within that breed. So maybe you have an opportunity to spin a Romney fleece. Don't take that as textbook that that's the only way that Romney will ever feel in your entire spinning career. This just gives you an idea of sort of some of the natural variations that happen between different breeds in terms of like staple length and crimp and fineness. Some of the things that you might see in the yarns, the bounce, the sproing, do they drape? It's just kind of to start to give you an idea of sort of how they're different. When somebody says to you in the future and starts to talk to you about the down wools as if you know what those are, you'll have sort of a repertoire of, oh yeah, I've spun a few of those and I kind of know generally what they feel like and what they look like. And when somebody says to you, oh, how the three-dimensional crimp of down wools is so different from that long curling twisting crimp of the long wools, you'll be like, yes, I've seen that. That is really important. I think that's probably the number one importance when we talk about wool classification and different classes of wool. And then we get into the nuances within the breed classes. That's really important as well. But the overarching differences in wool classification, that is really important. That is the reason why J.C. Boggs Faulkner's book, 51 Yarns, starts with wool classifications. Spin a fine wool, spin a medium wool, spin a long wool, spin a double coat, spin them separately, spin the undercoat and the outer coat, spin them together. Spin a primitive, spin something that's a miscellaneous, like a Jacob that doesn't really fit anywhere because it's got a whole bunch of things going on all in one fleece. And we'll have different things going on between various fleeces, even from the same flock. Now you're starting to develop some vocabulary, and it's really helpful. It's a really wonderful way to approach your spinning in the future, because even if you stick with braids of comb top, you still kind of have some language around, oh, this is a braid of comb top that's Polworth, but this one's a braid of comb top that's Corriedale. One's super fine, it's a very fine wool. The other one's kind of starting to edge toward a medium wool, and actually, you know, some of the Corriedales are like really medium. I know they're going to feel different. They're going to create a different yarn. Gives you some vocabularies, gets you on your learning path. Skill development. Spinning a variety of fibers builds adaptability, and it really helps to improve your drafting control. So when you control the twist as it moves into your yarn and it moves into, you make that transition from it being fiber in your fiber supply hand to being twist, and that's controlling that twist as it enters the fiber supply. Are you allowing the twist to enter your fiber supply more in like a woolen yarn, or are you not allowing it to enter the fiber supply and you're keeping it forward of your drafting hand and you're spinning it worsted? Controlling twist is huge. And then of course your finishing skills. Different wools want to be finished different ways. Are you going to throw your woolen yarn into an ice cold bath of water? It's a low twist, really lofty yarn, and then you're going to thwack it a bunch against the wall and you start to knit with it and it starts to fall apart just from a simple tug test. Well, maybe we should have finished it in a hot water bath, those scales open up, let them kind of lock onto each other. Maybe we do some hot and cold, maybe some light fulling. And then instead of thwacking it and whacking it really badly and roughing up the edge, maybe we just kind of hang it to dry. Maybe we spin it in our washing machine and let all that excess water come out, and then we just sort of leave it. All these finishing skills and finishing techniques, they take practice, and you need skeins of yarn to finish differently to then be able to compare them to one another. What's different in these different finishing techniques? Why would we finish our yarns differently? That's a huge area of discussion. Understanding the properties themselves, each breed behaves differently. So you've got the down wools. They're all about elasticity, sproing, bounce, but they're not super, super soft. They can be quite coarse and they can be quite prickly. Durability. Fisherman's sweater. You want to knit this beautiful all over cabled sweater for your uncle who works in Newfoundland on the fishing boats, and he does lobsters. I don't know, I'm coming up with some story. You want to make him this beautiful fisherman's Gansey, right? It's got all the cables. It's going to be outside in the rain. You want it to be water resistant. Let's not use merino. Durability is a huge factor. Softness. You're making this for your elderly grandmother. She's maybe lost a lot of her hair. She's one of your favorite people in the whole wide world, and you want to make her this really beautiful toque. She gets really cold. I really feel the cold now, dear. Merino. Let's make her a merino toque. So as you get into how these different breeds act differently, the different classifications and how they act differently. So where do you even begin? A study will teach you how fiber choices affect the final yarn, and a hot topic in woolen spinning recently, the fabric. This is huge. So yeah, fiber choice, it's always going to affect the final yarn. It's always going to affect the final fabric. We spent an entire last half of the episode last time, episode 320, talking about that how our fiber choice affects the final yarn and the fabric. Better project planning. So as you get further into your spinning journey, and as you work with more wool and you work with more blends and you start to try things, when you do a breed study, it starts to help you to educate how to match the right wool to the right project. So we were just talking about, the fisherman's Gansey in Newfoundland, Canada. He's going to be out on the boats and he's going to be in the rain. Let's use a wool that's going to be hard wearing. Let's use a wool that's going to be, able to withstand the wear and tear of the work that he's going to be doing. Let's pull out the long wools for weaving. Let's pull out the fine wools for the next to the skin, especially for those who are extra sensitive. As you go through a breed study and you start to learn the nuances of all these different wools, and you start to learn how they all behave and act differently, you're more able to approach the right wool for the right project at the right time. That's huge. Informed purchasing. This is, I think, something that I really struggled with at the outset, something that I felt like I had no way of figuring out other than just doing it. And now there is so much information out there, and we are really trying to help one another and really help inform one another of what to purchase, when to purchase, whether it's a good idea, whether it's not a good idea, etc., etc. That people, you're not left quite so by yourself now, but when I was starting out, there really wasn't anybody to help. But when you go into a purchase, whether you're purchasing a fleece or a partial fleece or a raw fleece or a washed fleece or a bat or a braid, when you're informed and you know what you're buying, it reduces your risk of buying unsuitable fleeces, fibers that aren't quite right, by giving you firsthand knowledge of what works for your spinners, for your style, like for the individual spinner style and your goals. What are you trying to create? What are you trying to make? Let's go back to the fisherman who needs the all over cables and the water resistance. And, if you're going to do that for that person, let's say this is like your beloved uncle, how do you spin? What's your style? What do you like to spin? You've gone through this whole breed study. You've spun all these different yarns. Now, what worked for you? What didn't work for you? What did you like? What did you not like? What are your long-term goals? Where do you want to get? Best laid plans, all that. But what are your sort of general ideas? What do you want to be able to accomplish? Do you want to be able to spin for a sweater like that? It's going to be probably 2,000 yards of yarn. Does that fit with what you want to do? Could you see yourself processing an entire Gödel fleece to be able to do that? Yeah, I probably could. I really enjoyed my Gödel study. I enjoyed spinning that. It felt really natural. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I got the yarn that I wanted. It wouldn't be too much work to go ahead and make a 3-ply versus a 3-ply. Yeah, that kind of fits. That's something I would like to be able to do. That would be like a magnum opus. Okay, great. Making informed decisions because you are increasing your knowledge and you're increasing your own personal confidence and your own ability to approach a project and know what it is that you want to do. I mean, now you're in the driver's seat. How great is that, right? And there's communities like ours that, helps you to come to the group and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and this is sort of where I'm going with this, and like, what do you guys think? Am I completely in left field here? Like, have I completely missed the ball? And people are like, no, I think that sounds awesome. Like, let us know how it goes. How can we support you? How can we help you? And so on. This one, I was really torn about including it, but I did because Jillian Eve on her YouTube channel recently has done some historical deep dives and has done some history and context around, fabrics and spinning and everything. And there's other people in our space that talk about historical context and appreciation and whatnot. Rebecca has her background in archaeology and, sometimes comes to it from that perspective. So I ended up including it, but the historical and the cultural appreciation of doing a breed study. Many breeds, they have a really unique history. There were traditional uses. Some sheep were purely for meat. Some were multi-purpose. Most were multi-purpose. They were left on islands around the world so that, people had meat, dairy, and clothing when they got there. It just adds a lot of depth and context to our spinning. Sometimes the history and the things that we learn are a bit uncomfortable. They maybe force us to take a look at our history, take off the rose-colored glasses a little bit, which I think is really important. And, gives us an opportunity to sort of look back and say, what we're choosing to do now and learning these things and participating in all of this, we're choosing to preserve some of this stuff and preserve the knowledge and the wisdom that comes with sort of making our own clothing, making our own fabric. And it's also really neat to look back and say, and start to understand why different breeds from different parts of the world have the same name, but they've deviated a bit from each other. Or the breed standard for one in one continent is different from the breed standard on another continent, and why that is. That can be really helpful, and it can really help to inform your purchasing, going back one, as well, when you start to look at sort of what's out there and what's available to you, and where you want to get your fleeces from, knowing what you start to sort of understand and know about what happened to these animals and where they were taken and how they were bred and so on and so forth. I think it's really important. And then, of course, there's a cultural aspect as well, the people that were able to take advantage of what these animals grew for us to be able to make clothing, and how we went about making that cloth and making that fabric. This one is huge, confidence building. Trying a wide range of wools shows the beginner and even the intermediate spinner that there is no single right way to spin. There is no spinning police, you guys. There's just different techniques for different fibers. And sometimes there's the same technique for different fibers, and sometimes there's different fibers for the same technique. there is no wrong way to spin. There is no wrong way to make yarn. And I think really, if you're getting the fabric that you want, you are absolutely doing it the right way, and you keep doing it. I need somebody to come in here and be like, Queen. But that is really what we're going for, right? There's all these different drafts out there. There's all these different ways of approaching your wool. You can spin true worsted, you can spin true woolen, and then there's the spectrum in between of, you know, it's semi-woolen and semi-worsted, and it's somewhere in between, and we can spin from the fold, and we can do all these different things. There is no right way to do it. I used almost every single draft going through these 12 skeins with these 12 different breeds of sheep, 12 different, rovings that Anna had prepared for the Longway Homestead breed study. They're all slightly different. They're all slightly different breeds. There is no one way. They were all done a little bit differently. And you get better. The more different drafts you use, the better you get. This one's my favorite, your personal preference discovery. So when we're newer spinners and we're just kind of getting started on our journey, I think there's a preference, or there's a tendency for people to be like, oh yeah, that's my favorite. And then they kind of spin something and then like, oh, that's my favorite. And I do it all the time. So I'm not criticizing anybody whatsoever, because I do it all the time. And I love how Evelyn will say sometimes in chatter in one of the Zoom groups, she'll be like, oh, what's your favorite right now, Rach? And, it's always inevitably something else. Right now it's Jacob. A couple of years ago it was Corriedale. It's been Corriedale for a long, long time. I love Corriedale. I love Romney. I have a lot of personal preferences. I am a true Gemini. I like all the things. But this really encourages you to find your favorite fibers and your favorite style of spinning. It shapes your identity as a hand spinner, and I think this is really important. You sort of develop over time where you fit, what kind of works for you, what doesn't work for you. Like, are you a rug weaver? Are you going to be a rug weaver? Then you might not want to approach a lot of fibers that are really lend themselves beautifully to rug weaving. If you don't have a rug loom, you have no intention of learning how to weave rugs, like maybe that's not your identity. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe that's not your niche. But maybe you do have a loom and it's a rigid heddle, and you really want to do really beautiful stoles out of your hand spun, featuring your hand spun, and you want to work with color, and you want to play with maybe adding another heddle onto your rigid heddle, so you can do 4 shafts and you can do some simple twills. Like, who knows what your identity is? Only you know that. I think for me, it's taken me a long time to figure that out, and I think I'm still working on it. I think I'm quite a, I think you guys know this about me by now. I'm quite a, I'm not necessarily eclectic. I have sort of a general overarching plan generally most of the time, but I enjoy color, but I don't have to work with color all the time. I love the natural shades, but not all the time. I want to play with a bit of dyeing, but not all the time. I'm definitely the definition of multi-craftual for sure. I want to spin the majority of the time, but I also want to carve out a lot of time for weaving. Unfortunately, that means knitting kind of ends up taking a back seat, but that's okay. That's kind of, as my hand spinning identity evolves, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knitting kind of taking a bit of a back seat. So part of doing these breed studies is helping you to start to give some vocabulary and some language around who are you as a spinner. If you were to describe yourself, give somebody a 30-second elevator pitch of the type of spinner that you are, what would you say? What are the breeds that you really love? I love the mediums. I love the downs. The primitives, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. If I had to choose, I would probably ease into something that was a primitive but a single coat. But I really enjoy spinning Lopi yarn sometimes. Sometimes I just want that tactile experience, right? I really enjoy the miscellaneous. They have a lot of the attributes of the downs and the mediums that I really, really love. And my spinning style fits those wools. And I love, love, love working from fleece. So as my identity has changed and evolved and ebbed and flowed and all that kind of stuff, those are some of the things that kind of sit right. They're kind of fitting me right now. Is it going to change? Absolutely. Am I probably going to pivot at some point? Absolutely. If you know me for a long time or know me for a while, you will know that Mike always says my superpower is my ability to pivot. There's a reason for that. I hope that's helpful. That sort of grounds us in this discussion of this breed study. So what I thought we would do next is just have a quick look at like what the Longway Homestead, I know that Anna changes it every so often depending on what fleeces are available and what she can get and what they're processing at the time. But let's just move over to show you guys the yarns. So this first one, I've put them in 3 slides of 4 because there's obviously 12, it's 12 months of the year, 12 breeds, 12 yarns. The Rambouillet in the bottom, your right-hand corner there, the Rambouillet was the very first one that I received. I received it in November of 2020 and I spun it right away, and it's a very, very fine 2-ply. And there was a little bit of VM in it, I remember at the time, but I enjoyed the spin. I hadn't spun Rambouillet before at that point. Rambo wasn't super common at that point. It's amazing how much things change in 5 years, because now Rambo is everywhere. But I really enjoyed that. It was woolen, it's bouncy, I got a lot of yardage, and it was a really, really lovely spin. The other 3 here were done in 2021. The Finn on your right-hand side, and then the Rideau Arcot. Rideau Arcot is a Canadian wool breed. They generally are dairy sheep. And I spun that long draw. I think I spun the Finn long draw as well. And I remember feeling a little bit disappointed when I finished the 2 of them. And it's funny because I think about it now and I look at them now and I'm like, I don't know what I was so upset about, but just that unevenness, that very woolen kind of, you know, lofty, bouncy wool. They spun very quickly. I remember that. They spun really fast. The Tunis ended up being one of my absolute most favorites. It was one of my favorites out of the entire breed study. It came out beautifully. I had spun Tunis before, and I've spun it since. I really, really like Tunis. It is a great wool. Definitely a great one for somebody looking, if you've enjoyed Corriedale or you've enjoyed Romney, Tunis is another one that would be a great one to try. Yeah, I really like it. And I enjoyed this prep. The woolen roving, it worked. It went off really, really nicely. Here are the most recent ones. These are the ones that I have finished at the end of 2024 into 2025. The Targhee, I talked about a lot on the episode when I was spinning this. It had an unbelievable amount of VM. And Anna included a note in the package for that month, and I know she felt really badly about it, and it just was one of those things. The clip wasn't what she had thought, and it had a lot of VM. If I were to go back and do this one again, I think I would take the time to comb it because the yarn came out beautifully. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the yarn because it has all that VM in it. We'll see. I'm going to figure out a project for all of these yarns over the next few months, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one. The Cheviot, the Icelandic, and the Shetland, I spun those like in the last month. They were the last 3 that needed to be done. We were cleaning out the garage. I stumbled on them and I was like, I've got to get these done. So the Icelandic went first. I spun it as singles. I fold it. It's a beautiful low piece style yarn, very much in the style of the Long Wool's Revolution vlog that I released last year. And it just came out beautifully. It's that gorgeous silver gray, like, oh, beautiful. The Shetland was the last one that I spun. I think it was the last one, or was it the Cheviot? I think it was the Cheviot was the last one. The Shetland, I was a bit nervous about it. I wasn't sure how it was going to spin. I was a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure. It was beautiful. It spun up really, really nicely. Most of these, I took the rovings and I unwound them from the bump. And then I found the middle and I split it there and wound it into 2 separate sort of balls of roving, if you will, and spun them each. So, and while I was doing that, I would pre-draft it at the same time. So the Shetland, it just came out beautifully. I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I did save the Cheviot for last. The reason why I saved it for last is because Cheviot's my favorite breed. It's been one of my favorites for a very, very long time, and I wanted to end on a high, and it spun up quickly. I have over 400 yards. It's just a lovely, lovely yarn. And then these were the 4 that were kind of in the middle. I spun most of them in 2022. I spun some of them in 2023, but I didn't spin any of the Longway Homestead in 2023, and I only did 1 or 2 in 2024. But the Wensleydale, I'm showing Cheviot twice, so you know what? That's the Cheviot. This isn't Cheviot, this is Corriedale. I've put the wrong label on. Yeah, I put the wrong label on. So that is actually Corriedale, this one in the top left corner. The Corriedale, I was really disappointed with. I'm not going to lie. The roving, the way I spun it, I had pre-drafted some of it. I wasn't happy with how I approached it. I think I was rushing a little bit. I wasn't super happy with it. But the yarn came out beautifully. And the roving itself was great. It was me. I just wasn't super pleased with it. The Beaumont came out beautifully. That was a lovely spin. I think that one I did in 2022 along with the Wensleydale and the Corriedale. Remember, the Cheviot label is wrong. It's Corriedale. My absolute most favorite spin from this entire study was the Romney. It was beautiful. The prep, the quality of the fiber, the way I spun it, like everything just was kismet. It came out exactly how I was hoping. And that Romney, I think there's like 500 or 600 yards there. It is my favorite. It came out beautifully. I'm really happy with that. So this one in the top corner on the top left here is actually Corriedale. It's not Cheviot. That was probably my least favorite along with the Targhee. Which is funny because I like both of those breeds. It just, for whatever reason, I wasn't jiving with them at all. So those are the 12. And then I have a really quick little kind of, individual photos of each of them to show you guys. So I will just see if I can stop this and I'll pop up the other for you. So that is the Longway Homestead breed study. I'm really happy that it's done. It was a huge amount of spinning. It was a huge amount of work. But overall and in general, I'm glad that I did it. What I really like about it is that Anna does it as a letter mail. So it comes through as letter mail. It's squished flat, and then what I would do is every month I would open up the package. I would cut the vacuum seal. And then I would store the wool that way so that it would kind of pop up back to life. The air would kind of come back into it, and it didn't stay compacted for too long. And I just kept it in the bins and sort of kept working on it through, like, as I kind of worked my way through it all. It is a lot of spinning. You know, it's 100 grams for 12 months. Like, it definitely adds up. 1,200 grams. It's 1.2 kilos. What I'm going to do with it, I'm not sure. And so I'm going to sort of, you know, continue to think about it. I do have a couple of crochet projects in mind that I've been kind of thinking about. One of the things that I didn't mention is I did try to spin this all to the same grist. So all of these yarns should be relatively interchangeable in terms of being able to use them together. So I did try to spin them all sort of to my default sort of 14 wraps per inch sport weight kind of happy place. And the idea behind that was that I could probably use them all together. So I am thinking about something crochet, but I just haven't kind of gotten that far yet in terms of like what I would actually do. A sweater, a blanket, both. I'm not really sure. So I'll keep you posted. So that is my Longway Homestead. I am happy that it's finished, but I did really enjoy it. And I'm glad that I subscribed. It took longer to finish than I thought it would. That is one caveat. I didn't think that it would take quite as long. So that's something to keep in mind when you're, if you're thinking about doing a big study like this. I would almost, if you want to do something like this, but something like this is overwhelming, I would almost recommend trying something that's more like 20 grams, and trying like, you know, maybe 15 breeds or something, like do more. So you've got some smaller skeins, you can use them all up in a sweater, you know, something like the Jethro cardigan, something like that. I think it would feel more manageable, but I'm really glad that I have this much yarn to use. Like, I'm really pleased. So, and I could dye it. I could dye some of the white. There are 6 skeins of white, so I could play around with some dyeing. We'll see. We'll see. We've got boucle coming up in the Wool Circle, our book, Spinner's Book of Yarn Design stuff. So I think this is definitely going to go on the back burner for now. But I am pleased that it's done. So right as that segment was ending, the little girls next door came to the door, and I was like, oh no, because they always ring the doorbell and they knock and they know I'm home because my car is here. So I was like, oh shoot. So I had to run to the door. Sorry, Lila, Nora's not here. Okay, bye. So sorry for the delay there for a minute. Thank you for all the kind comments in the live chat about the Longway Homestead, this study. It was huge. It was big, and it's lovely to have it done. Tessa, her and I subscribed, I think, around the same time to the study. She was thinking about doing the Hana pattern, H-A-N-A. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, by Junko Okamoto. Oh, it's an assembly of cabled squares made into a sweater. Ooh, Tessa, I'll have to look that up. Thanks for sharing. So that is done. The other Skeined project that I have that I am finished is my Dame Gödel gradient. So this is from, this was FatCat Knits. This was from before she stopped dyeing. So this was sort of from her shop closing years ago, and then she's actually back dyeing now, and I don't know if she has this colorway available or not. But this was 6 ounces of variegated BFL. I have a very specific project in mind for this yarn, and I, of course, I've talked about this on the podcast before. I've ended up with 2 partial skeins. This is about 4 ounces and this is about 2 ounces, but together, but I think this is a little bit more and I think this is a little bit less. And what I started off with was this. So you can see that the gradient over there is quite that green, that garish neon green, almost acidic neon green. Was at the 2 ends of the 4 ounce braid, and then she added another 2 ounces that finished with the acid green. So what I ended up doing, and I talked about this on the show before, is I spun the 2 ounces, the braid over on the your right over there, the one that's kind of laying on its own. That one is this, And the one that loops around is this one. So 4 ounces and then another 2 ounces. This will be weft. This will probably be warp. The numbers won't work out exactly perfectly. I'll have to take a bit of this and add it to this. But the plan is to throw this on the loom, and I need to wind a dummy warp. And you can see here, this is what it looked like unbraided. And then of course I started to spin. I spun quite finely. The finished yarn is about 22 wraps per inch for a chain-ply. I never chain-ply, so it was very odd chain-plying. I was chain-plying in the campground when we were in Jasper. So I worked on the second skein, this big one. I spun it end to end and plied it the week that we were in Jasper and completely finished it. And then I left it on the bobbin plied. I took my woolly winder from my Ashford e-spinner to ply it while we were gone. That was my goal. I just wanted to come home with this. I didn't take anything else to work on. I just wanted to have this done. And I plied it on the Friday and we left on the Saturday to come home, and I left it on the bobbin, and then once we were home I skeined it, washed it, photographed it, all that kind of stuff. What ended up happening was, because I spun it, I think because the braid was in my stash for quite a long time, it got roughed up quite badly in a few places. So unfortunately there are a few places in the yarn that are a little bit maybe not as consistent as I would like for going on the loom and for weaving with, but I think it'll actually be fine. I did add quite a bit of ply twist when I was chain plying to this to tighten it up, make sure it's nice and tight for on the loom. And I'll share with you as I get to the point where I can put it on the loom. I will share with you what I'm going to do with it. I don't have so much yarn that I can just warp the loom and weave a stole or a scarf, and however long it comes out, just like my woven stole in the background here. I'm in the same boat where I need to wind a dummy warp, put that on the loom, and then I'll wind the warp for this and tie it on to the dummy warp. And I know a lot of people on my weaving account on Instagram, which is is it Welford Pearls _ weaves or Welford Weaves? Welford _ weaves. I don't even know. It's not that I don't pay attention. It's just that, like, yeah, it's Welford Pearls _ weaves. Pearls is P-U-R-L-S. Welford Pearls Weaves. You won't be able to see it on here. It's this account here, Welford Pearls Weaves. So if you want to see my weaving, that is where you go. I just keep it off of my other account just to keep it, mostly to keep it organized, actually, more than anything. I know I've had quite a few people comment over the last probably like 6 months or so and just say, like, I don't like dummy warps, I don't use dummy warps. And we've talked about this on the show before. The reason for using a dummy warp is because I only have a certain amount of hand spun. I can't get more, I can't make more. This is all I have, and I want to maximize my yardage. So after I chatted with Lisa about it a little bit, and I said to her, like, you know, I feel like the dummy warp is kind of the only way to go. And she's like, yeah, like, I don't know of any other way either. So it really reaffirmed for me that I was on the right track with doing these dummy warps. And I have to admit, every single time I do it, it's a little bit faster every time. And I often reuse them. So I have the one from this stole behind me on my Louette still. And I probably will actually be able to use it for this yarn. So I might not even have to wind another dummy warp, which would be really nice. I have a massive project on my Leclerc Jack right now that I'm not going to talk about today because it's too much to get into, but I'll share that with you next episode. But once that project is off, that loom is going out. So it is going to a new home, my Leclerc Jack, which I'm really sad about, but I'm also really excited for the person who's getting it. So this will go on my Louette Spring. And originally my plan was to put my Louette in our storage container when we have to partially move out for a little while later in the fall because we're having some work done on the house, and I was gonna have it moved into the storage pod. But my mom was so gracious, and I said to her, like, would it be okay if I brought it? And I kind of didn't ask her for permission. I was sort of like, I think I'm gonna have to bring it. And she's like, oh yeah, we'll figure out where to put it. I was like, thank you so much, because I was a bit worried about having to take it to my mom's, and she was like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, because it means I can work on some of these projects and keep the momentum going. That's what I don't want to lose, is the momentum. Lisa says, everything I like is always called garish. So it's funny because what drew me to this braid originally, and the reason why I bought it when it had gone on sale, was because the colors were so acidic, and because they were so bright, and because they really, to me, they really scream deep, deep fall, early winter, kind of, I don't want to say Halloween because it's not Halloween per se. It's more just that deep winter. You're wanting some color. You know, I think of, you know, those you know, when you're going into winter and you start to see like the skies and there's ice and snow and stuff, and you start to see these deep teals, but then you get those gorgeous sunsets and stuff, and they often have the rich purples and whatnot in them, depending on the part of the world that you're in and all that kind of stuff. This just screams to me deep fall, early winter. And they are garish, but they're fun and they're bright. And in the weaving, what'll end up happening is, let me just clear off the screen a bit and so I can make it bigger, is there will be places in the weaving when we do this, when I finish this project, it'll be just like this, where you'll get these areas of really super high contrast between the green and the purple, and you'll get these really high contrast areas, just like in this in my silk puff stole that I had done. And then there's areas where, and this will happen with this weaving as well, where you'll get areas where the colors will all match and you'll get no contrast, and the pattern will be very, very, very subtle. So that's what I'm excited about, is to see that garish purple and that garish acidic greeny highlighter or yellow green contrast against each other and just augment each other. So I'm excited. So, all right, let's move on to the last thing that I want to chat about today, because we're already almost an hour and a half, and we've talked about a lot. We have like covered quite a bit. I know, I love it too, Eliane. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made. I have to say, this and my Breed Blends and Color Study stole that's behind me here. That was our Bramble Ridge, this last study that we did this past winter and into the spring. The BFL Wensleydale mohair, and I did the woven stole, and Rebecca did the socks. I have to admit, that and this are two of my most favorite things that I've made recently. And it's funny, I had pressed this and it was all lovely pressed, and now I have to take the iron to it again because it's kind of gotten wrinkled because of the silk. It is going to wrinkle because of the silk. So let's do some sampling, and I don't think I actually have a divider for sampling, so let's just call it, I don't even know what we should call it, spinning maybe, I guess, sampling. I wish I had a sampling thing. I thought I did. Hang on, let's see if I have one. You guys are like, Rachel, don't waste time on this, but I'm like, no, I want to do this properly. Let's see if I have one. I thought I did. You guys can chit chat. Sampling, I do have one. Maybe there's no music though. There might not be music. So if that's the case, I'm sorry that there's no music, but I'll see you on the other side. And we'll go through this quickly. Oh, inquiring minds want to know, Dion. She says, my plan is to weave with the Breed Blends and Color Study 2, and I'm going to try a modified dummy warp. What do you mean by modified? I want to know. Yeah. Nicole said, modified in what sense? Yes, in what sense? Tell me your ways. Oh, it did have music. Okay, good. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Sampling. I did this for my friend Melissa of Melly Knits back in the spring, and it was, I think it was actually early summer that I did this for her, but it was the Happy Anniversary Guts 2 club, and it was the Romney. It was LW, and I had spun these all for her, and then I had given them back to her so that she could do all the photographing and everything. And then I said to her, you know, I did the bond speed date, And I actually have another speed date that I need to spin for her as well. I just got behind on this summer because of people visiting and whatnot. And I said, I knit that swatch for you for the Bond speed date. Do you want me to do one for the Romney as well? I could probably fit it in and do it at some point at, this summer. Well, I didn't do it this summer. I did it on the weekend. But I wanted to share with you the results. So let me just share with you. I did already share these yarns with you, so we're gonna blitz through them relatively quickly. And I'm gonna share them with you in order because it's the order that I knit them in. So this one was the 100% Romney that I did for her, and it was beautiful. This was really, really gorgeous. And actually, if I have, let me just check in my spinning journal here. Because I thought that I wrote down, just give me a split sec here, you guys. Finish the show off with a bang. Yeah, here we go, LW. Yeah, I do have them here. Okay, so this was, there was the Bond speed date that I already did, and we've already talked about that on the show. This one was LW. It was from Nighthawk Ranch here in British Columbia, and I spun this for Melissa back in June. So whoever's in the Guts 2 club, if there's anybody watching or anybody in the live chat that's part of this club, you guys already received this several months ago. So I wrote about the Romney that it was balanced, it was bold, it was beautiful, it was perfect white, long stapled. I had to drop the ratio because there was way too much twist. So that was this one. And then the next one that I did was, and I'm going to do it in order of that I knit them in, so I'm not too confusing. The next one that I knit up was this one. So this is 50-50 Romney and Columbia Rambouillet Corriedale cross. So one sheep, but made up of, but a cross. And that was from Susan Harwell in California. Harwell? I think it was Harwell. Susan Harwell in California. Light gray heather, it's soft, it's got really good bulk. When you squeeze it, it pops right back up to life. I loved this yarn. This yarn, out of all of them, I remember talking about this on the show, this yarn screamed sweater yarn to me. Short sleeved, long sleeved cardigan, cables, lace, this sweater. Not super, a true medium. How's that for describing it? Not super fine, not super coarse, a true medium. This was just incredible. And then the next one that I knit up was Merino. These are all 50-50, by the way. This is Romney Merino. This Merino came from a farm in a place from Ironwater Ranch in Oregon. Ironwater Ranch. It was a coated merino, 18 micron. This is fine. This would be incredible for a sweater. This would be incredible for a sweater. This would also be an awesome sweater yarn. What I would do with this one is I would put more twist in it to make it a little bit hard wearing. This one, you wouldn't have had to put in as much twist for a sweater yarn. So more twist, amazing sweater yarn. Medium twist, amazing sweater yarn. Finer, softer, not fine, but not coarse at all, not toothy at all. Just crisper, a little bit crispier, teeny tiny bit crispier, bulkier in the sense of like when you crunch it down. No, that's not true. They're both the same. This one's just going to be more hard wearing. That's all. It's a slightly higher micron compared to this one. This one is really fine, beautiful. So this was merino. And then the fourth one was my most favorite. It was the 50-50 alpaca. This was incredible. Incredible drape. It would be amazing for weaving, good durability, amazing bulk, but drapey. Sheen, really nice sheen. Can you guys see that on there, that sheen? And then the last one was this one that was the most surprising to me. And I actually didn't think that I was going to like it at all. And I ended up loving it. And this one is the 50-50 Romney Shetland. When I saw this one, before I saw the label, I actually thought for sure that it was going to be like Wensleydale or Gotland or Icelandic. I thought it was going to be something like that. And the Shetland really surprised me. Again, sweater yarn, sweater yarn, sweater yarn, sweater yarn. This would be, the alpaca would have been an incredible weaving yarn. All of them were incredible. The Romney on its own was incredible. It would make an incredible lace shawl. It had all of them have a bit of a halo because of the nature of the Romney and the long wools. They always have a halo. And then of course the alpaca had the most halo of all of them because of the alpaca. So that was the yarns, okay? All very soft, all very easy to spin, really, really lovely. So I sat there the other night while we were watching a movie and I knit them all up. So before we go to the photograph, because it's often easier to see a photo, I just wanted to share with you just the hand. This one is the Shetland. The alpaca is here. It is lovely. This is such a lovely piece of fabric. Oh my goodness. The merino is incredible. It's a little bit denser compared to the alpaca. Again, sweater yarn. And then this one is even a little bit denser still. Teeny tiny bit of tooth, tiny little bit. And then of course the Romney, which is just incredible, just all on its own. So I'll come to the photo for you guys and then we're gonna say goodbye. But if anybody has any questions about all of this as I'm chatting, we can always save them for the next show. What I was gonna say is that's really important for those who are newer spinners in the crowd. We've got a 50-50 yarn. All 4 of these yarns are 50-50, right? The white is the 100% merino, 100% Romney on its own. And then that Romney is blended with the other 4 50-50. So the Shetland is 50-50, Romney Shetland. The alpaca is 50-50, Romney alpaca. Merino 50-50, merino Romney. And then the cross is 50-50, Romney cross. So if you look for a moment and just take a sec to kind of, appreciate the colors, look at that gradient, all by just blending 50% with colored fleeces. The Columbia Rambo Corey was a gray. The merino was a beautiful brown tawny color. The alpaca was a beautiful brown. And the Shetland was a gray brown. And like 50% white Romney, you would never know. You would think if you were sort of inexperienced, you were just coming to this to like figure this out for the first time, and you're sort of getting started with blends, you're just trying to figure it out, you would never know that there was 50% white in there. You would think that was just the color if you didn't look at the label or you didn't have anybody tell you. Like, isn't that incredible to get that color? You guys, you can do this at home with your drum card or your hand cards or your combs. Really, really incredible way to be able to get color. The other thing you could do is if you had a really dark fleece and a white, is you start with the 100% white and you finish with the 100% dark fleece, whatever that is, and then do increments of 10% or increments of 5%, and you can create your own gradient and then see how the different fabrics feel with those different percentages of wool. So how does it feel with the white wool at 25% and the dark wool at 75%, and then vice versa, because they all feel a little bit different depending on the fleeces that you pick. So just take a minute to appreciate, the colors that you can create and the fact that these are 50-50 white and a natural shade. It's really incredible. And when you see them knit out, of course, you can really see it. My most favorite of all of these is the alpaca. I will say it's got a lovely halo to it, and it just has a really nice feel. It's a really nice knitting yarn. When I was knitting this up, it was the nicest, but it now that it's been washed, because I washed this, so this is a wash swatch. This is washed. If you were trying to create a yarn that closely mimicked a worsted spun yarn held with a kid mohair silk yarn that's so popular right now, where you've got that fuzz and that surface texture, this 50-50 Romney alpaca, because of the characteristics of the Romney and the characteristics of the alpaca, you could do that without having to hold 2 yarns together. You could just blend them together, the alpaca and the Romney. Pick a long wool, put it with alpaca 50-50, and you'll get that halo, that fuzzy effect. The other thing about that yarn is it's very drapey. It has a really, really nice drape to it. It has a sheen to it, and it would be beautiful in lace. So if you're trying to create like a rustic lace, you know, a ranunculus yoke, or any of Nordland's yokes that are all over lace, anything like that, it would be incredible. The Merino and the Columbia Rambouillet Corriedale Cross, those two I still, after knitting with them, after working with them, those two still scream sweater yarn to me. The 50-50 Romney Cross, so the light gray, I would 3-ply that. So I would make that into a 3-ply and I would do a sweater yarn. It would be incredible for cables. It would be incredible for texture. You could do brioche. You could pick a sweater that was brioche. That would just be an awesome, awesome, awesome 3-ply. And then the merino, I would probably stick with the 2-ply, but I would pick a sweater with an all over lace because the merino is warm. The Romney is warm. There's a little bit of a halo from the Romney. Get that beautiful brown. You could pick any merino fleece to go with this and it would work. It just screams, both of those yarns scream sweater yarn to me. They would be fine woven, but honestly, sweater yarn all the way. And then the Shetland was the one that was the most surprising to me. It has a halo. It has a little bit of a tooth to it, but not bad, not a prickly tooth. It's just not as soft as the others. I don't know what I would do with this yarn. I think it would be an incredible sweater yarn, but it would be rustic. Maybe an outerwear, like a sweater that you're not gonna wear right next to your skin. And definitely it would be incredible for weaving. And then the 100% Romney, you could do anything with it. That yarn is such a showstopper just all on its own. It screams dye and sweater yarn to me. And again, it has a halo. If I go to the main camera for a minute, you can really see the halo along the top there. That's just the Romney on its own. Isn't that awesome? And this is just, oh, it's amazing yarn. But again, I think I would leave it as a 2-ply and I would choose something with lace in it. The Spark cardigan from Joji Locatelli from years ago. She has a couple of all over lace patterns for cardigans. It would drape beautifully because of the long wool. I really, really like that Romney on its own. So lots to play with and lots to think about. Beautiful. Oh, how, thanks Dagmar. She said she really likes my swatching. Dion says they look machine knit. That's very kind, you guys. Thank you so much. I did these on, so that you know, actually, I knit all of these. When I do sampling like this, I really try to keep the grist, the number of plies, and the overall like thickness of the yarn. I try to keep it the same so that all of the yarns are as close as possible and are kind of matched as closely as possible so that I can, when I knit them up, I'm comparing apples to apples. So this was knit on 3.5 millimeter, or is that a US size 6? Or is that a US size 4? 3.5 millimeter needles. Can you guys help me? I think it's a US size 4. Dion will know. She's getting used to all my metric. Yeah, so I try to spin everything the same, so that same. That's why I tried to spin all of my Longway Homestead same, so that they were all the same, and I could compare apples to apples. So that is that. If you guys have any questions about the sampling or about the knitting or anything, please just pop that in the live chat, and I can address that for sure. So that is the most recent speed date. I have one more to do. I don't know if I'll have it done for next show, but my goal is to have the spinning done. But at least those are done for now. And what I'm really looking forward to is actually taking the speed date knitted swatches after I have the third one done and laying them all, like laying the 3 of them next to each other and comparing, like, okay, this one was Bond, this one was Romney, I'm not sure what the newest one is, and kind of being able to compare them side by side to how they change as you blend other stuff in with the sort of the base wool, if you will. So super fun. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sticking with me for such a long show. It's been a very big day on the woolen spinning front with the kids starting school again, and just a lot going on. James finishes school in half an hour, so I'm going to walk up to the bus stop, and I hope he'll be there at some point. And until next time, happy spinning, happy weaving, happy knitting, happy all the things. I wish you all the very, very, very best for September. And next Tuesday, same time, same place, we have the Wool Circle with Rebecca. She will be kicking off our newest and final, that's kind of sad, our final segment of our 2-year book study. It will be coming to an end at the end of this year. For all of the book study stuff, on the Slack channel and on Ravelry to share all of your progress and everything, look for #Year of Yarn 2024. I should probably change the title. I just hadn't had a chance to do that. But share everything that you're working on. This is our final 4-month push to finish off our book study, and then we'll have some new stuff coming in the new year. Color Mania will be released in a few days' time, and that will be from Dion, our new teaching content, sharing all about color, getting you started with color, getting you started with how she approaches color. And yeah, Color Maniacs Zoom group will start in November, so you've got a couple more months before that kicks off. But Staplers will be meeting next Thursday. Queries is meeting this Saturday. We had to move things around because of Knit City this month, and I think those are the major updates. So I will see you all here in a couple of weeks for another live stream, and next week for the Wool Circle. So until next time, keep safe, have a wonderful few weeks, happy spinning, happy knitting, keep yourselves warm, and I will see you then. Bye, everyone.